So, Olivia Wilde, in her debut directing, uh, made Booksmart, a movie that's been out for a couple weeks now. You got around to it early. I took a little bit longer, unfortunately, because this movie is a lot of fun, man. Like we talked about Long Shot a couple weeks ago, and that was by far my favorite comedy of the year. Uh, Dethroned by Booksmart.
Until now.
Yeah, a very short stay at the top. Um, this movie's only made 14 million.
Yeah.
Pretty big flop. Very disheartening for these
Fucking
small.
Annapurna, man.
But I, people have been saying this is gonna be a cult classic. I don't see how it can't be because I feel like there's too much in here
Lock
that
it in.
that is liked, and that I think people who are in high school now are going to be, when they discover this on Netflix in 6 months, are going to be blowing it up. It stars Beanie Feldstein, Caitlin Dever, and
Deaver.
Deaver.
Yeah.
Devers. uh, and then Billy Lord,
My girl.
who I want to talk about her a little bit, but you saw Booksmart a while ago. How has it been sitting with you since you saw it?
Yeah, I saw it the week before it came out. They had like preview screenings, like one show time on that Friday night. So I saw it in like a packed ass theater. And this theater was, I don't know if they're liquored up or what, but this theater was fucking roaring. Like we saw the was it Good Boys, Bad Boys trailer, the Jacob Tremblay, like the kids who curse and do fucked up
Yeah,
shit. People were dying for that trailer. Like the energy was high. And so much so that even like the jokes that were in the Booksmart trailer were still getting huge laugh lines. So I was definitely in a room that was like in the bag for the movie, but it was still a great experience. And since then, I mean, since seeing that, I was like, I have a week to tell everyone how great the movie is that no one else really saw, and then everyone else gets to see it. But then quickly the narrative becomes about the poor box office and the
yep.
choice to put it out against Aladdin, which if you look at the demo, they had literally the same demo numbers in terms of age and gender splits and stuff, and just quite a miscalculation on Annapurna's part to open this movie wide and also in the heat of the summer. So that kind of like derailed the whole thing. But like, actually, if you just got he's narrowing on the movie, you're like, man, like cult classic. Obviously, lock this in. This is like everybody wants some. This is like any of these. I think like Long Shot to a lesser extent as well. It's like comedies have a hard time making inroads. Even Blockers and Game Night last year were both lauded movies that did just okay, did pretty good actually, given the state of comedies, but they have a hard time breaking out in the moment. And Booksmart, despite most people not seeing it, I feel like it's really lasting and resonating with everyone who sees it. And of course, I felt that way. So, I mean, how did you feel about seeing it once you heard more of the narrative and talking points after it'd been out for a little bit?
Yeah, I felt really sad because this is a movie that people should be seeing. I think if you went to high school, you can relate to somebody in here, or at least something in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the performances, and Olivia Wilde too, for this being her debut film, I feel really optimistic about her as a filmmaker, because even though I think a lot of the shots that stand out are borrowed from other filmmakers in the past, I still think the way that she put this movie together, the way that she added her own like kind of touches onto it, really made a special film about these two girls and their relationship. I know Superbad is like the lazy comparison for this,
Mm-hmm.
but I see it like it felt like Superbad a lot of
Super
times.
bad meets eighth grade.
Yeah, and the awkwardness of some of it was like I was like crawling out of my skin. And I saw it pretty much in a theater with nobody. So,
which is really sad.
yeah. Well, I mean, the time of day I also went was
Sure.
not conducive to a comedy, I think. But, yeah, where should we start talking about this? Like, what stood out to you, I guess, the most? Or what scenes maybe? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the visuals stand out. It just looks really great. Um, but I think obviously this movie, the success or failure of this movie, largely hinges on its two leads, Caitlin Dever and
Mhm.
Beanie Feldstein, and they have the overwhelming majority of all the lines and have most of the screen time, and thus they need to be good and compelling and charismatic and have good chemistry between each other, obviously, because they're talking to each other the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
That all has to work, or this movie isn't going to function. And that would be the case whether this was just a drama or has to be funny. And thankfully, they both nail it. Um, I think Caitlin Deaver's character, what's her name?
Amy.
Amy. Amy, as a out gay woman, young woman who
Mm.
just happens to be gay. It's not about her finding out that she's gay. She's just already gay, like
Yep.
most people that are gay. You know, like the choice to tell it in that way or not tell it in that way just stands out because that's never how we don't get it that way, you know? So the fact that they don't make it a big fucking deal,
Right.
you know?
She's out. She's gay. She's out, and she's accepted for it. It's not like she
Right.
has. There's no issue around it.
Right. Meanwhile, Molly, Beanie Feldstein, is really funny because obviously everyone knows she's Jonah Hill's younger sister, but she never
They
really
look.
played the Jonah Hill is my brother card in her career. Like she came up slowly. She was in Neighbors 2. She was in Lady Bird, of course, but she also had a very successful theater career. And it just feels like Beanie Feldstein tried to play it her way as best she could, obviously. And having this be that true breakout for her really stood out to me because I'm like, we knew that she was really talented, especially once we saw her in Lady Bird. When you're like, yeah, like she's just fucking throwing heat, playing off Saoirse Ronan the whole time in that movie. And like, yeah, she's really talented, obviously. But to have her really have her own, you know, role in a two-hander like this and nail it, uh, really stood out to me just because I'm really excited to see her and Caitlin Deaver for that matter. Just I want to see what they do next, just because I can tell that like these two are, even if this movie didn't make any money, they're still like stars, future stars, which is really exciting. I love to see that. But they carry the movie, and thus the movie works, which is really exciting.
Yeah, their performances are excellent. I think Molly especially uh, stood out to me because Beanie, she basically had to play this very, I think, unlikable person. Just stuck up, thinks they're better than other people, takes himself way too seriously, and then she has this huge turn throughout, and kind of has this revelation of like that scene in the bathroom where she finds out everybody else got into these Ivy League schools too, and
Yeah,
like it's kind of like that siren sound starts going off, and like she starts freaking out. I think is excellent. Um,
really good at
but
hand jobs.
yeah, um, it, I just feel like her turn throughout the film is kind of like what drives it up until Amy kind of has that breakout moment in the party, and I feel like the movie's good, and then when it gets to that party, it like almost like jumps to another level.
Yep,
That party scene, I feel like it has so many memorable shots. I mean, them fighting is one. Amy hooking up with the hot popular girl in the bathroom is a
the
scene
pool.
that memorable. The pool, stylistically, that shot in the pool is like it's like
Mhm.
something out of like a music video. Like it's just crazy. Actually, reminded me of a shot from Rocket Man, which we're gonna be talking about in a second. When he's in the
Sure,
pool,
of
people
course.
start jumping in. Um, I also feel like their performances felt so realistic to high school. Like
Mhm.
I feel like we've seen a lot of high school movies. Think about like I don't know, 10 things I hate about you or something like that. And so much of that feels like unrealistic to what high school actually is, but they felt so true to high school characters. It was uncanny.
Right, and I think that's actually an interesting point. People have been talking about that a lot. So I really like the rest of the ensemble of the people that play her classmates. You mentioned Billy Lord. We've known about her. Most of these actors are either brand new or haven't been known for much. I mean, I know Nick is actually played by Mason Gooding, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son,
Hmm.
um, but no one's really familiar with his work, quote
Yeah.
unquote, right? Um, you know, girl who plays AAA, stoner kid. All like no one really knows who these kids are, but they
Right.
all feel like the theater kids, same thing, right? Actually, Noah Galvin, one of the theater kids, uh, played Dear Evan Hansen,
Mm.
the title role. But still, they all kind of feel like characters that you understand who these characters are, even though they don't have that many lines, and they actually feel like real characters, even if they might be a little archetypical on the surface. Uh, the thing though is, I think the criticism of the movie, like legit criticism at least, was that this is a really like idealized high school setting where there is no sense of bullying or cliques or anything like that. And I do feel like it's kind of like dishonest to pretend that shit just doesn't exist in 2019, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like yes, Amy isn't shamed for being gay, um, and that certainly doesn't happen as much as it used to, but it still does happen. So I feel like maybe it is kind of presented as like a conflictless world where we're just hanging out with all these rich kids in LA, you know? So I understand if that maybe doesn't resonate with everyone. Um, again, like two rich white girls, like at the end of the day, it's not for everyone, I guess. But um, what the movie still is, though, is a really compelling coming of age story that does feel refreshed for today, as we've said, and just really kind of hinges on like great moments and set pieces. And again, we're not watching anything explode or anything, but like the moments, like when you're on the cruise ship in the beginning, right, or the party at the end, as you mentioned, or the totally out of nowhere scene where they do fucking drugs and it goes all
Mhm.
claymation. You know,
Yeah.
the movie just has standout moments, and that's why this is going to be a cult classic that people watch on streaming forever because it just has those moments that grab people. The problem is that most of the kids that'll appreciate what this movie does aren't going out to see movies that aren't blockbusters. Thus, they
Mhm.
didn't actually see it yet.
Yeah. Gigi, Billy Lord was
Fuck yeah.
probably my favorite part throughout the whole thing, and her running bit where she just like was somehow where they were every time, just like popping up was like the
Oh
funniest
hey.
thing ever. Also when her friend Skylar Gizondo, who played
Yep.
Jared, when he is talking about how he wants to like build planes or design planes, something like that, and then he looks over, he's like, "I should probably go make sure that isn't a true death float." Like, just hysterical. Like, and it like sums up her character so well. I felt like,
Right.
uh,
I like Jared a lot.
yeah, that was like I think his real first role, Skylar Gizondo, which is pretty impressive because I thought he was great.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like I saw Olivia Wilde after she tweeted a lot of during the opening weekend. She's like, yeah, uh, we do these chances casting all these people, and some people were like clapping back. It's like, well, actually, uh, you cast Jonah Hill's sister, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, uh, the guy from Dear Evan Hansen. Your husband is the principal. Will
Mm.
Forte's in this, like,
Lisa
and
Kudrow,
Carrie Fisher's daughter. It's like
yeah,
you didn't actually dig that deep, and it's like fair. And Caitlin Deaver's been known a long time. She was Unjustified. She was just in
yeah.
Beautiful Boy. Like she's not a unknown or anything either. So I guess that's a fair point, but it's not. It was just something Olivia Wilde was saying. But yeah, man, I love this film. I think I have it number 3 on the year right now, behind High Life and Us. So we'll see how that stacks up. A really high approval rating for me.